While and do while loops in C. Number one, what is a loop? A loop is used to execute a block of code repeatedly as long as a given condition is true. Ever wondered what keeps a microcontroller running non-stop? It's the while loop, the heartbeat of every embedded system. In the world of embedded programming, we don't just run code and exit. We build systems that stay alive, constantly checking inputs, responding to sensors, controlling devices, and waiting for events. In a while loop, the condition is evaluated first. If the condition is false, the loop ends right away and the code inside it is skipped. If the condition is true, the block of code inside the loop runs, and after that, the condition is checked again. This cycle repeats until the condition becomes false. Once that happens, the loop stops and the program continues with the next instructions after the loop. In a do while loop, the set of instructions inside the loop block is executed at least once, regardless of the condition. After executing the code, the loop condition is evaluated. Once the condition becomes false, the loop terminates and the program proceeds with the next statement following the loop. If the condition is true, the program returns to the beginning of the loop and executes the block again. This cycle continues as long as the condition remains true. This structure is particularly useful when you need the loop body to run at least once before any condition is checked. Number two, while loop syntax checks the condition before executing the block. If the condition is true, the block runs, repeats until the condition becomes false. You can see the example. More examples are available at the end of this video. Number three, do while loop syntax executes the block at least once, even if the condition is false initially. Condition is checked after executing the block. You can see the example. Number four, key differences between while and do while. In the C programming language, the main difference between a while loop and a do while loop lies in when the condition is checked. In a while loop, the condition is evaluated before the loop starts, so the loop might not run at all if the condition is false from the beginning. In contrast, a do while loop checks the condition after executing the loop body once, which guarantees that the loop will run at least once. Therefore, while loops are used when it's possible that the code inside the loop may not need to run. Whereas do while loops are ideal when the code must be executed at least once before checking the condition. In conclusion, use while when you want to check a condition before entering the loop. Use do while when you want a code block to run at least once regardless of the condition. Number 5, potential mistakes. Forgetting to update the loop variable lead to infinite loop. Using do while when the loop must run at least once. Missing semicolon after while condition in do while structure. Number 6, why is the loop variable usually defined outside the while loop, unlike for in C variables declared inside the while condition are not allowed because the while statement only accepts a condition, not a full declaration and update expression like for. There is no built-in place in the syntax of a while loop to initialize a variable correctly. Example, in contrast, the for loop supports all three components: initialization, condition, update in one line. Key points. You must define the updates. You must define and update the loop variable manually in a while loop, typically outside the loop. Number 7, how and where to update the loop condition in a while loop. Update, update methods. You can update the condition inside the loop body using variable increment or decrement, logic change based on input, black variables, or break conditions. Placement options. A at the end of the loop block must come. B at the beginning of the loop. When updates must happen before logic. When updates must happen before logic. E inside an if or based on user input. Warning. If you forget to update the loop condition, it can cause an infinite loop. Number 8, what is the difference between for and while loops in C? For loop, best when the number of iterations is known, compact and clean structure. While loop, best when the number of iterations is unknown or depends on a condition. More flexible but requires manual setup and update. Number 9, comparison table between for and while loop. In C programming, for loops and while loops are both used for repetition, but they have different structures and typical use cases. A for loop includes initialization, condition check, and update all in the loop header, making its syntax more compact and easier to manage when the number of iterations is known. In contrast, a while loop only includes the condition in the header with initialization and update manually. With, with initialization and update usually placed outside or inside the loop body, giving it more flexible. For loops are commonly used for counting or when the number of iterations is predetermined. But while loops are better suited for input based or condition driven scenarios where the number of iteration or number of repetitions is not known in advance. Number 10, using a function as the condition in a while loop. In C programming, it is perfectly valid to use a function as the condition in a while loop. As long as function returns an integer value, the loop continues executing as long as the function returns a non-zero value or true. This is useful when the condition involves complex logic, user input, or external data. However, since the function is called on every iteration, it may introduce side effects or affect performance if not used carefully. To improve readability and avoid unintended consequences, It is often better to first store the function's return value in a variable, then use that variable in a loop condition. This approach also makes debugging easier and allows reuse of results within the loop body if needed. In this exercise, I'll demonstrate the difference between the while loop and the do while loop in C programming using the Eclipse IDE. We begin by defining two macros. Num and con refer to number and condition respectively. This allows us to easily adjust these values in one place rather than updating them throughout the code. Next, we declare two variables iCount, which will serve as the loop condition, and iLoop, which will track the number of iterations. If you are unfamiliar with best practices for naming variables or defining macros, I've already covered these topics in previous videos. You can find it in the playlist linked at the end of this session. We start with the while loop. The loop condition is placed within the parentheses, and inside the loop body, we use printf display the value of iLoop, formatted to a bit of 4 characters after each iteration. Both icon and iLoop are incremented. Next, we implement the do while loop. To save time, we duplicate the structure of the while loop, make a few necessary modifications to convert it to a do while structure. Before this loop, we insert a printf statement to clearly indicate in the output that the upcoming values are generated by the do while loop. We prepend two new line characters to move the output down. We prepend two new line characters to move the output down, creating visual separations in the terminal. We apply the same formatting to the while loop, adding a corresponding printf message at its start. Because this message is slightly short than the one used for the do while, we add a second printf to insert 5 extra spaces, keeping the output nicely aligned. Now, let's debug the program. Upon running it, we notice upon running it, we notice a couple of issues. First, we forgot to reset iLoad and iCount. We reset iLoop and iCount before do while loop. Second, we mistakenly used the macro num instead of count in the loop condition. Second, we mistakenly use the macro num instead of count in the loop condition. Remember, count represents the loop condition, while num determines the number of loop iterations. After fixing these errors and debugging again, the program behaves as expected. When num is less than count, both loops perform identically. You can clearly see this in the output where the printed value of I loop match in the both cases. However, if num is greater than count, the while loop's condition is false from the beginning, so its body is never executed and nothing is printed. In contrast, the do-while loop executes its body at least once before evaluating the condition, so even though the condition is false, the value I loop equal 1 is printed before the loop exits. This clearly illustrates the key difference. A while loop checks the condition before the first iteration, but a do-while loop guarantees at least one execution of the loop body regardless of the initialization condition. To further explore this behavior, we set num to 10 to ensure the loop condition is initially true. Then we comment out part of the code that updates the loop condition. Since the condition never changes, the loop continues indefinitely, resulting in an infinite loop. You can see finally when we you can see this finally when we uncomment the condition update, allowing it to change within the loop. Both the while and do while loops execute exactly 11 times, printing the current value of the I loop during each iteration. Number 11. Our upcoming video will cover the break and goto statements. You can find many more related videos in the playlist linked at the end of this video. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to receive notifications and stay updated whenever we release new content.